Hi, happy holidays. It's Bobby from Bobby's Baking Blog, and I decided to do these little snow globes of Clara holding her Nutcracker doll. And the reason I silhouetted Clara, it's kind of a funny story. The first time we ever took Sydney to see the Nutcracker, she was barely 2 years old and very little, and we had seats right in front of the orchestra, and all she could see was shadows until we realized and put her on one of our laps. But for most of the ballet, she just saw shadows. So to her, the Nutcracker was all silhouetted. So I decided to honor that first Nutcracker viewing with a silhouette of Clara and the Nutcracker. So these are our snow globes, and I'm going to show you how we silhouetted Clara and made the trees. Alright, so I am just setting up my cellophane, and as you can see, it's a very flexible surface. You can, if you want, take a little bit of vegetable shortening or Trex if you're in the UK. I would love to find some here, but I haven't been able to. And put it on the cellophane. I haven't had any problems getting them off. So I'm not going to put any shortening on mine, but you can do that if you want to. But I'm going to show you how I went ahead and silhouetted this little teeny Clara. I will tell you that she is extremely fragile because there are so many thin parts where her little ballet slippers are and her legs and where she's holding the Nutcracker. So I would make double of what you think you need. In fact, I was in the middle of making one that I really liked when my husband put his thumb through it. Which has nothing to do with breaking, but if you have a klutzy husband who likes to stick his hands in everything, you might want to think about that. So I've got a 0 tip in here. I've got a 10-second consistency royal icing, and I'm not really going to totally outline. As you saw, I already filled in the feet. The areas that I will outline are the areas that I know won't matter if they dry really fast. I started noticing when I was doing this that it was drying so fast that I wasn't able to scribe in what I wanted because it's so small with so much detail. And all I'm doing right now is kind of bringing this bun in like a petal. And for her face, you're not going to get that detail with this consistency. Just make sure that you get her chin. And then I'm going to show you how to go back and get the detail of her face. So like here with the Nutcracker, I'm just kind of really going to fill him in at the same time that I outline him. And then go back and pull out the detail that I want. So I'm not exactly doing this the way that you would do your normal run out. And I'm going to leave that face area for last because I want it to stay as wet as possible. I'm just going to fill in this area that I know won't give me a problem. And then there's like two little hands here. So what I did was I pulled it through, which made it, and I'll show you what I mean, it made it a little bit fragile. And I didn't have a problem with it, like removing it or putting it on my foam. And I had them laying on foam on the cellophane, and then I took them off and then put them on a foam. You could use your foam that you use for flowers and turn it upside down so that you don't have the part that you put your flowers on. So I would come in and do the face first because you need to pull out that detail. It's such a small area. So we're just going to kind of pull out that little nose area right there. And the eyelashes, you're going to go back and pipe in with a line consistency royal icing after you get her on the cookie. It's a little teeny eyelash, and it would be so fragile she would just break them right off. So there's no reason for you to waste your time trying to get that eyelash in right now. So here's what I'm trying. I'm going to pull this royal icing up this way and get enough so that I know that if I'm careful, it won't break. And I'm using, it's actually a Kemper, I think it's a clay tool, but it's the thinnest scriber I've ever been able to find. And it's got a nice wooden grip that I won't slip off of, so I don't have to worry about it. Now normally I would be doing as many as I could fit in this strip, and we will have her template for you. And by the way, Sydney again is my artist who drew out Clara for me. So Sydney, thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's about it. Now the only thing I'll tell you to do at this point, I would wait about 20 minutes, and also I wanted to show you, if you have one, if you don't, you can get an embossing dryer. This is an Ottlight, O-T-T, not Otto, like would rhyme with Noto, but an Ottlight, and it heats. So this way she won't get the divots that sometimes you get when you do a run out, and I would leave that on until you're ready to, till it's movable and it won't break or crack on you. So let's move on to how we did the part of the snow globe that has the tree and connecting Clara. So here's the snow globe, and I'm going to kind of explain how I did this. I used an ornament cutter from Copper Gifts, and then I took an extremely sharp, actually it's one of my favorite knives, and I just cut a stand from here to, well, I don't want to cut my board, but I cut a stand out this way and then this way. Put them together, let them bake that way, and that was pretty easy peasy there. And then I picked the fondant that I wanted. Sydney and I wanted to go with this really pretty burgundy type. Actually, I was trying to make a mahogany wood, which is what this is supposed to represent. And then I just did a nice little sea scroll on there and put a band on the top and the bottom. Alright, for the tree, you're going to want some brown, and I ended up darkening my brown with a very small amount of black. And I will tell you a very, very small amount because I ended up with like a weird gray color. So if you're brown, I used dark brown from Sugar Flare, and then I used black licorice from Sugar Flare. But I ended up getting a little bit too brown or too gray with that. So I had to add more brown. So it's kind of like a chemistry type of thing. Alright, and then after you put your brown line on, you're going to do like a forward-backward motion with your, this is holly green mixed with, Sydney, what did we mix this with? Was it moss?
I think it might have been.
With moss green from Wilton to get this darker, like evergreenish color. Just go over the brown. And then you're going to add in your branches. You're just going to kind of, and I'm using a medium consistency for this. You just kind of want to put your branches where you think they should be. Bring them out long enough that you like them. Make sure you keep your tip, that's the wrong one. Keep your tip nice and clean. You can kind of give them an arch or more of a willow look. As you go up your tree, you're going to want to make these little ferns, I think they're called ferns, or these little branches that are on your evergreen tree, shorter. I'm going to turn my cookie. It's over here. You don't want your branches to be parallel. You wouldn't want to put it here. That just wouldn't look very natural for a tree. So just kind of, and you want to bring them in, excuse me, I didn't finish that sentence. So you want to kind of go in between the spaces of the ones that you had from the branch above. And just start shortening it a little bit as you go. You want them to be fairly close, because if you look at an evergreen tree, I made that one a little bit too long. So let's see if I can get it out. If not, I'll just make the other one longer. Alright, guys. Okay. But if you look at an evergreen tree, even though you can see the trunk or the bark in the inside, it also is very full. It's a tree that gets to stay full during the winter months, which is kind of nice. And living in Colorado, we have a ton of these. Quite a few in the backyard here. And there is some weird dog that a neighbor got. I think it's a puppy, but it's yapping like a goose. I swear it's not a goose, so if you hear it, it's just this funky dog. Now you're going to go back in and you're going to kind of like almost teardrop the little pieces that would make your tree bushy. And if you find you don't have a lot of room on the preceding branch, just go ahead and add a little one in. It's more of the perception that it's there than that it's actually there. When we get the snow on, you'll see what I mean. Actually, even before that, you'll see what I mean. I like to keep a little bit of water close by in case I find that I didn't exactly get this where I wanted to. I can kind of shape it with a brush and some water.
Hey Mom, why did you decide to put a tree on the snow globe?
Because in the LA there's like a Christmas tree back there, but I thought the ornaments would take away from Clara, so I just made it a tree.
Yes.
And this is a project that actually Sydney and I did together. Like I said, I told her my idea of what I needed, and she drew me out some pictures. We had a picture of a little dancer and the prince, so you know where the Nutcracker turns into the prince. But his little legs were so skinny because he was so small that he kept breaking, so we decided not to use him at all. She's a pretty good artist there. I'm really lucky. I kind of used my Christmas tree in the family room for my inspiration as to how the tree should look, as far as like how many branches and how much of this are they leaves? What are those things? The pine.
Pines.
Thank you. How much pine it should have. I am not a botanist. I probably should become one. Something under there. This is pretty easy. It's just piping out little lines. It's sort of like when I did the candlesticks, or the candles, Christmas candles. Same type of concept when you bring it out. And so now I'm going to add in my snow. And I'm going down to, if I didn't tell you, I had a number 2 tip in for both the brown bark and for the leaves and the pine. You could go with a number 1 if you wanted to. If you're going to do that, then you need to go down with the number 0 for your snow. Because you just want the snow to look like it's laying there. And you don't have to snow the whole tree or every branch. Sorry, you do have to snow the tree. You don't have to get every single branch. Just kind of think of how snow falls. We've been, I don't know if it's lucky or not, because we're not going to have a white Christmas, but we've had plenty of snow this last week. So there's still snow left on some of the trees. But now they're saying that it's going to be 50 degrees for Christmas. If you're not from Colorado and you haven't been here skiing, then there's a saying that we use all the time: if you don't like the weather, wait a day. It will change. Which makes it hard when you're having people visit because they don't understand it. They just need to bring a lot of layers. So, like I said, I'm just laying the snow on top of each of these branches and the pines. Give the illusion that the snow fell onto the tree.
Look, the tree is coming alive.
Thanks. Yeah, it is a little bit there. If you find that one of your branches or your ferns is flaking off, just go ahead and remove it and repipe it. It won't make a difference. No one will know. I would have to say this is one of our favorite times of year. And not just, I think it's mostly for the family value of it. We have a lot of traditions. My husband being Italian, from Sicily, right, Dennis? You're Sicilian?
Yes.
Okay. Has a tradition that I had a hard time in the beginning getting used to, and that's that you have to have 7 separate fishes on Christmas Eve. So when we first got married, there I was cooking up 7 fishes, of which you take a bite of each and not eat the rest. So we now go for sushi for our Christmas Eve dinner, because it ends up being, believe it or not, more economical than having fish that you can't use. So we're excited about that. So I've got the snow on. At this point, you can put in some of your snow on your globe, or you can go ahead and put Clara on. I'm going to put Clara on because I don't want anything to make it so she might break. And I'm going to tell you that there are 2 times you have a danger of breaking. One is when you remove her from the cellophane, and one is when you go to put her on the tree. So I'm going to put Clara on the tree. And this is the foam I was talking about. I allow her to dry on the cellophane, and then I take another one afterwards, and after I've removed her from the cellophane, and let her lay there until I'm ready to use her. Because she is so fragile. So we're going to hold our breath right now. I'm probably not going to do a lot of talking. And I'm going to just go ahead and put her gently on. Now, Sydney took ballet, so she reminded me as I was placing Clara that she needed to be on the toe point, and this one needed to be up. So that's important if you're going to use this template. You're going to gently, and I mean gently, kind of push her down. Don't push on the little Nutcracker guy, he'll come snapping straight off. So once I have her on, I think she's on securely and flat. I want her leg to be a little bit over the tree's behind her, so that we can tell that it's a Nutcracker that she's carrying and not just a stick or a doll. I'm going to put a little bit of I mixed some old gold and bright gold to get the gold that I wanted. And I'm using Everclear because it dries very fast, and a very small, I believe this is a 000 brush. Nope, it's a 00, I'm wrong. But I'm going to give it a very thick coating of the lusters of gold. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the little crown. And I'll just keep layering until I get exactly enough color on there. I want you to use, or I suggest, you can do whatever you want obviously, a very, very, very soft brush, because where the Nutcracker is attached, right inside are her two hands, and there is a space, and there's not much holding him to her. So I'm going to go ahead and brush my crown. And then I noticed that there's a band of, and it depends on any Nutcracker you look at. I looked at several pictures to figure out how he should be. And originally we were going to put a Nutcracker on here, but it just didn't look right. I didn't have the elegant look that I wanted. So, by himself anyway, I wanted him with Clara. So we'll put a little band. So this is where his leg is. So if you're looking at him from the side, and that's important that this is the side of the Nutcracker. So you just want to do just enough to kind of be a couple of half buttons. If you wanted to, you could take some red royal icing and even paint his little top on. I'd be really careful with that just because he is so fragile, and the more weight we put on him, the more likelihood he is going to snap. And that's it. Your snow globe is done, except for adding something to make it stand. And before I do that, I'm going to make sure Clara's on. She is. So if I can get Sydney having a triangle. I baked up quite a few triangles that I just cut out by myself. Or you could use a square cutter and cut them directly in half. So we're going to put the triangle on like this and get the snow globe to stand. You're going to want to use thick consistency royal icing, or not thick, stiff consistency royal icing. So that you can get a nice gluing going on. If you notice, and we did notice on one of the globes that we did, that it wanted to fall forward, you can go in and shave your triangle down a little bit until it leans the right way. I'm going to gently turn it because we need him to stay connected for a few minutes here. But that's it. That's your snow globe. So thank you.